That night, I understood that one wedding could destroy two families. My name is Mary Johnson. I am 55 years old. I am a mother of 3 children. But this story is about Andrew, my oldest son. His wedding day should have been the happiest day of his life. It wasn't. I still remember the smell of fresh lilies in the church, the white lights hanging from the ceiling, the guests smiling. Andrew was waiting at the altar in that navy blue suit he loved so much. He was nervous, but happy. I was too, until the moment of the toast arrived. The bride's father, Mr. George Harrison, took the microphone. He was a large man with a deep voice and the owner of a construction company. Everyone knew him, everyone respected him, or so they thought. He raised his glass of champagne and said, "I want to toast my daughter, Sophia. She has always been stubborn since she was a little girl. And today, well, today she insisted on marrying this young man." There were nervous laughs. Then he added, looking directly at Andrew, "That boy is an idiot, but my daughter insisted on marrying him." The ballroom erupted in laughter, but I saw my son's face. He turned pale. His hands trembled. He looked down. I felt my legs stop holding me up. No one else seemed to notice. Everyone was laughing. Everyone was toasting, as if humiliating a man at his own wedding was funny. I clenched my napkin in my hands, took a deep breath, and in that moment I knew something. This man was not going to get away with it, because I knew things he thought no one knew. And that night I was going to reveal everything. But before I tell you what I did, let me tell you how I got there. Because this story didn't start at that wedding. It started months earlier, when something inside me said, "Mary, investigate that man." And I did. What I discovered destroyed his entire family. When Andrew told me he had met a girl, I was happy. It was January. It was cold. We were in the kitchen of my house, drinking coffee, like every afternoon. "Mum, her name is Sophia," he told me, with that shy smile he always had since he was a child. "She's different, smart. She makes me laugh." I watched him. Andrew was 28 years old. He worked as a civil engineer for a small but honest firm. He was my oldest son, the most serious, the most responsible. He had never spoken to me about any girl like that. "And what does she do?" I asked, stirring my coffee. "She's studying architecture. She's about to finish her degree. Her dad owns a big construction company, Harrison and Associates." That's when something inside me stirred. Harrison. That last name sounded familiar, but I didn't know where from. "Have you gotten to know her well yet?" I asked him. "Yes, Mum. We've been dating for 3 months. I want you to meet her. Can I bring her over for dinner on Sunday?" I accepted, of course, because a mother always wants to see her children happy, and Andrew seemed happy. That Sunday, Sophia arrived. She was pretty. Long dark hair, big eyes. She dressed simply but with class. She greeted me with respect. She hugged me. She called me Mrs. Johnson in a soft voice. "Thank you so much for having me at your house. I made a turkey chili with rice. It's my specialty." Andrew was nervous, but Sophia helped set the table. We talked. She told me about her career, about her dreams. She wanted to design sustainable homes, houses for families. I liked her, but when she mentioned her father, something changed in her voice. "My dad is demanding," she said, moving the food on her plate. "He has always wanted me to be perfect, to have the best grades, to marry someone on his level." "And what does he think of Andrew?" I asked, pouring her more water. Sophia looked down. I haven't told him we're dating yet. Andrew looked at her, surprised. Sophia, it's just, she sighed. My dad is complicated. He always says that men have to prove their worth, that he doesn't trust anyone who doesn't come from a family with money. I felt a knot in my stomach. Andrew comes from an honest family, I said firmly. Hard-working, with values. That's worth more than any money. Sophia looked at me with teary eyes. I know, Mrs. Johnson, that's why I love him. Andrew took her hand. I smiled. But inwardly, something worried me. That man, Mr. George Harrison, sounded like someone difficult, someone who judged people by their bank account. And I knew that kind of man. I had seen them all my life. They always hide something. Months passed. Andrew and Sophia became an official couple. He was in love, radiant. He came home singing. He talked about her all the time. Mom, Sophia understands me. She respects me. She doesn't care that I don't have a new car or that I live in a rented apartment. She says the important thing is to build together. I nodded, but I kept thinking about that father. One day, Andrew came home more serious. Mum, I have to tell you something. We sat in the living room. It was raining outside. The sound of the water against the window calmed me. I'm going to propose to Sophia. I felt a mixture of joy and fear. Have you met her family yet? Yes, I went to their house for dinner 2 weeks ago. And how did it go? Andrew hesitated. The dad, Mr. Harrison, is weird, Mom. He asked me a lot of questions. About my job, my salary, my plans. He asked me how much I made a month, how much I had saved, if I had any property. And what did you tell him? The truth, that I make just enough, that I'm saving, that I don't own a house, but that I work hard. And what did he say? Andrew clenched his fists. He said, Well, son, I hope you know that my daughter is used to a certain level of life. Not just anyone can support her. I felt anger, but I held it in. And what did Sophia say? She got angry with him. She told him I was a good man. That's all that mattered. Mr. Harrison just laughed and said, We'll see. I couldn't sleep that night. Something about that man bothered me deeply. It wasn't just his arrogance. It was something else. Something I couldn't see yet. But I was going to find out. Andrew proposed to Sophia in April. She said yes. They cried together. He called me on the phone, excited. Mum, she said yes. We're getting married. I was happy. Really? But that same night, alone in my room, I looked out the window and thought, that man is going to try to ruin this. I know it. And I was right. 2 weeks later, Sophia came to see me. She was crying. Mrs. Johnson, my dad says he doesn't want me to marry Andrew. I sat down with her. I served her chamomile tea. I took her hands. Why? He says Andrew has no future, that he's a mediocre man, that he's going to make me unhappy, that I'll regret it. And what do you think? I love Andrew, but my dad is very stubborn, and my mum always does what he says. I'm afraid that they'll separate us. I squeezed her hands. Sophia, listen to me carefully. True love doesn't let fear win. If you love my son, fight for him. And if your father doesn't accept it, that's his problem, not yours. She nodded, wiping her tears. You're right. I'm going to fight. And she did. Sophia confronted her father. She told him she was going to marry Andrew, with or without his blessing. Mr. Harrison had no choice but to accept. But I knew that a man like that never accepts defeat. And I was right. The wedding preparations began. Andrew was happy. Sophia too. But Mr. Harrison set conditions. "I want the wedding to be at the event hall of the country club in Beverly Hills," he told Sophia. "I'll pay for everything, but it'll be done my way." Andrew wasn't comfortable with that. "Mum, I want to pay my share. I don't like depending on him." "I know, son, but sometimes you have to give in." For Sophia. And he gave in. But I didn't give in. Because something inside me told me that man was hiding something. Something big. Something dark. And one afternoon, while having coffee at a cafe downtown Los Angeles, I saw something that chilled my blood. I saw Mr. George Harrison with another woman and 2 small children. The woman kissed him on the mouth. The children called him Dad. I froze. I paid my bill. I left there. I walked to my car. I sat down. I breathed. And then I knew what I had to do. I was going to investigate that man, because if he was cheating on his wife, on his family, on everyone, then my son was about to enter a family built on lies, and I wasn't going to allow it. For 3 days, I couldn't sleep well. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the same scene. Mr. Harrison kissing that woman, the children holding his hand, the way she looked at him, as if he were her whole world. And then I thought about Mr. Harrison's wife, about Mrs. Lois. I had only met her twice, at the engagement dinners. She was an elegant woman, quiet, always with a polite but sad smile, as if she had been carrying an invisible burden for years. Now I understood why, but I needed to be sure. I needed proof, because accusing a man like George Harrison without proof would destroy my son's wedding, and I didn't want that. I only wanted to protect him. So I did something I never thought I would do. I hired a private investigator. His name was Robert Miller. A friend whose husband had cheated on her years ago recommended him. He was discreet, professional. He had a small office in the downtown area, on a second floor above a dry cleaner. I went up the stairs one Tuesday afternoon. The hallway smelled like detergent and old coffee. I knocked on the door. A deep voice told me, "Come in." I entered. Robert was a man in his 50s, thin, with glasses and a short-sleeved shirt. He had an old computer on his desk and metal filing cabinets against the wall. "Sit down, Mom. How can I help you?" I sat down. I took a deep breath. And I told him everything. I told him my son was getting married, that the bride's father was a powerful, arrogant man, that I had seen him with another woman and 2 children, that I needed to know the truth. Robert took notes. He didn't judge me. He didn't ask unnecessary questions. "Do you have photos of the man?" I showed him a photo I had found online. Mr. Harrison at a groundbreaking ceremony, with his politician's smile. "Do you know where you saw him with the other woman?" "At a cafe downtown, near the city hall. It's called the Southern Star." "Do you remember the day and time?" "Last Friday, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon." Robert nodded. "I need 1 week. I'm going to follow him. I'll find out everything I can. If he has another family, I'll prove it. If there's more, that too." "More?" "Ma'am, a man who cheats like that, so openly, usually has more secrets. Financial problems, debts, shady deals. I'm going to check everything." I felt a chill. "How much do you charge?" $5,000 per week, plus expenses. It wasn't cheap, but I paid it, because my son's peace of mind was priceless. That week was one of the most difficult of my life. Andrew came home every day, excited about the wedding plans. He showed me photos of the venue, the menu, the flowers. Sophia and he had chosen white roses. Their song would be, "It Had to Be You." "Mum, we're going to dance to that song together, okay? You and me, like when I was a kid." I smiled, nodded, but inside I was dying of anguish. What if what Robert discovered destroyed everything? What if Sophia suffered because of her father? What if Andrew hated me for interfering? But then I remembered that phrase, that darned phrase that Mr. Harrison had said to my son. "I hope you know that my daughter is used to a certain level of life. Not just anyone can support her." And my anguish turned into rage. That man had humiliated Andrew from the beginning. He had treated him as if he were less, as if he didn't deserve Sophia. Well, if I was going to discover something, it wasn't going to be to destroy the wedding. It was going to be to protect my son from a family of lies. On Friday of that week, Robert called me. "Mrs. Johnson, I need you to come to my office. I have information." I arrived in less than an hour. I almost ran up the stairs. I entered without knocking. Robert was sitting in front of his computer. He looked at me seriously. "Sit down." I sat down. My hands were trembling. "What did you find?" Robert turned the screen toward me. "Mr. George Harrison has two families." I felt the air escape my chest. On the screen there were photos. Photos of Mr. Harrison with that woman, entering an apartment in the Chelsea neighborhood, taking the children to school, kissing her in a supermarket parking lot. "Who is she?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Her name is Veronica Smith. She is 32 years old. She's an accountant. She works at Mr. Harrison's company, Harrison and Associates." "And the children?" "They are his, a 7-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl. They are registered with their mother's last name." But I investigated. Mr. Harrison pays the rent for the apartment. He pays for the children's private school. He buys them clothes, toys, everything. With what money? Robert looked at me intently. "With company money." I felt the world stop. "What?" Robert took out a folder. He opened it. Inside there were documents, bank statements, bank transfers. "Mr. Harrison has been diverting money from the company for years. He makes transfers to personal accounts. He uses corporate credit cards for personal expenses. He pays for trips, hotels, expensive restaurants, all with money from Harrison and Associates." "And the company?" Robert sighed. "It's in serious trouble. It has debts with suppliers, labor lawsuits, 3 unfinished projects, and there are 2 criminal lawsuits against him for fraud." I put my hands to my face. "My Gott!" "That's not all," Robert said. "What else?" "Mr. Harrison has personal debts, 2 maxed-out credit cards, a bank loan for more than $2 million, and he owes taxes to the IRS from 3 years ago." "How much does he owe in total?" Robert checked his notes. "Approximately $12 million." My breath caught. $12 million? "Yes, and according to my sources, the company is about to go bankrupt. It has 6 months, maybe a year. After that, total bankruptcy." I remained silent, looking at those documents, those photos, that dark truth. Mr. George Harrison was not the successful man everyone believed. He was a liar, a thief, a fraud, and my son was about to marry his daughter. Robert gave me copies of everything. Photos, documents, transfer receipts, expense records. Everything was there. "What are you going to do with this?" he asked me. "I don't know," I replied, my voice broken. "I need to think." "Ma'am, I'll tell you something. You hired me to find the truth. And the truth is ugly. But now that you have it, you have to decide what to do with it. I know. If you tell your son before the wedding, maybe he'll call everything off. And maybe that's best. But it could also destroy his relationship with Sophia. I know. If you don't say anything, your son will enter a corrupt family. And when everything explodes, because it will explode, he'll be caught in the middle. I closed my eyes. What if I tell Mr. Harrison? Robert shook his head. A man like that won't accept being discovered. He'll deny everything. He'll threaten you. He'll try to destroy you. So what do I do? Robert leaned back in his chair. Wait. Watch. And when the right time comes, act. I left that office with a folder full of secrets. I walked aimlessly through the downtown streets. The sun was hiding behind the buildings. The lights of the food stands were turning on. People walked quickly, in a hurry to get home. I walked slowly, carrying a heavy burden. I thought about Andrew, about his smile, about his excitement. I thought about Sophia, about her innocence. She wasn't to blame for having a father like that. I thought about Mrs. Lois, about her silent sadness. Maybe she knew. Maybe she had been silent for years. And I thought about Mr. Harrison, about his arrogance, his hypocrisy, his cruelty. And I decided something. I wasn't going to say anything before the wedding. I was going to wait. I was going to watch. And if Mr. Harrison dared to humiliate my son again, then I was going to destroy him, with the truth. I arrived home when it was already dark. I put the folder in the back of my closet, under some old blankets. I sat on the bed. I looked out the window. The city lights blinked like distant stars, and I took a deep breath, because I knew that what was coming was going to change everything. The following weeks were a silent torture. Every time I saw Andrew, I smiled. Every time Sophia came to visit me, I hugged her. Every time someone mentioned the wedding, I nodded enthusiastically. But inside, I carried that secret like a stone in my chest. I slept poorly. I ate little. I got up in the early hours of the morning and sat in the kitchen, looking at that folder I had hidden in my closet. Sometimes I took it out. I reviewed the photos, the documents, the bank transfers. Everything was there. Every lie, every betrayal. And I wondered, why don't I say anything? But the answer was always the same. Because if I did it now, Andrew would hate me. He would think I was sabotaging his happiness. And Sophia would be devastated. No, I had to wait for the right moment, and that moment would come. One Saturday morning, Sophia called me. Mrs. Johnson, can we meet? I need to talk to you. Of course, dear. What's wrong? It's about my dad. I prefer to tell you in person. We agreed to meet at a cafe near my house. I arrived before her. I ordered an Americano. I sat by the window. When Sophia arrived, her eyes were red. She had been crying. She sat across from me. She took a deep breath. And she said, "My dad wants to control everything about the wedding." What do you mean? He wants to choose the guest list. He wants only important people to go. He says he doesn't want common people at his event. I felt the anger rise in my throat. Common people? Sophia nodded, wiping her tears with a napkin. I told him I wanted to invite Andrew's cousins, his aunts and uncles, his friends from college, and my dad said, "No, Sophia, this wedding is a social event, not a block party." I squeezed my coffee cup so hard I thought it would break. And what does your mum say? Nothing. My mum never says anything. She always does what he says. It was exactly as I had imagined. Sophia, listen to me carefully, I said, taking her hands. This wedding is yours and Andrew's, not your father's. If he wants to control everything, then maybe you should get married a different way. She shook her head. I can't. My dad threatened not to pay for anything if I don't do things his way. And Andrew and I don't have the money to have a wedding like that. It would take us years to save up. Then do it small, with the people you truly love, with dignity. Sophia looked at me with those sad eyes, so much like her mother's. Mrs. Johnson, I just want my dad to be proud of me. Just once. But no matter what I do, it's never enough for him. My heart broke, because I understood something. Sophia wasn't just trapped by money. She was trapped by the love she never received from her father, and that was worse than any debt. That afternoon, when I returned home, I took out the folder again. I looked at the photos of Mr. Harrison with that other woman, with those children Sophia didn't even know existed. And I thought, that man doesn't deserve his daughter's love. But I still couldn't tell her yet, because destroying the image Sophia had of her father before the wedding would be cruel. She needed strength to get married. She needed excitement. There would be time for the truth. 2 weeks before the wedding, there was a rehearsal dinner at the Harrisons' house. Andrew invited me. I didn't want to go, but he insisted. Mum, please, I want you to get to know Sophia's family better. Mr. Harrison said he wants to talk to you. That made me nervous, but I accepted. The Harrison house was in the Greenwich, Connecticut area. It was huge, 3 stories, a garden with a fountain, a 4-car garage. When I arrived, an employee opened the door for me. Good evening, ma'am. Please come in. I went in. The floor was marble. The walls had huge paintings. Everything smelled like money. But I knew the truth. All of that was built on lies. Mrs. Lois greeted me in the living room. She was an elegant woman, about 55, with perfectly styled hair and a beige dress. Mrs. Johnson, how nice to see you. Please come in. She greeted me with a kiss on the cheek. Her perfume was expensive, but her gaze was empty. Thank you for the invitation, I said. It's a pleasure. Sophia speaks very highly of you. We sat down. There were canapes, red wine, imported cheeses, all served by employees who moved silently. Andrew was sitting next to Sophia, holding her hand. She was smiling, but she looked tense. And then Mr. Harrison appeared. He entered with the same arrogance as always. Dark suit, gold watch, salesman's smile. Mrs. Johnson, how nice to have you in our home. I stood up. He extended his hand to me. I shook it firmly. Thank you for having me. Sit down, sit down. We'll have dinner in a few minutes, but first I want to toast. Mr. Harrison took a glass of wine. Harrison took a tea. Everyone imitated him. I want to toast my daughter Sophia, he said, looking at her. She has always been my pride. Smart, beautiful, well-educated, and now she's about to get married. He paused. He looked at Andrew. To a hard-working, humble boy from a good family. The word humble sounded like an insult. Andrew looked down. I clenched my glass. Mr. Harrison continued. I hope this marriage is the start of something big, because in this family we value effort, hard work, ambition. He looked directly into my eyes. Don't you think so, Mrs. Johnson? I held his gaze. I believe that in this life, the most valuable thing is honesty. There was an uncomfortable silence. Mr. Harrison smiled, but his eyes were cold. Of course. Honesty. How important. We toasted, but I knew I had just given him a warning, and he knew it too. During dinner, Mr. Harrison talked non-stop about his businesses, his contacts, the projects he had built, the politicians he knew. "I have a new project," he said, cutting his steak. "A residential development in Dallas. 500 houses. It's going to be my biggest work." Mrs. Lois smiled weakly. "That's good, dear. But I thought, with what money, if you're broke?" Andrew listened attentively. Sophia ate in silence. And I just watched. I watched how easily Mr. Harrison lied, how his wife pretended everything was fine, how Sophia swallowed her sadness with every bite. That entire family lived a lie, and I was about to destroy it. But not yet. Not yet. At the end of dinner, Mr. Harrison asked to speak to me alone. "Mrs. Johnson, will you join me in my study?" I nodded. I followed him down a long hallway to a room with wooden shelves, books he had never read, and a huge desk. He closed the door. "Sit down." I sat down. He remained standing, looking down at me. "I want to talk to you about Andrew." "I'm listening." "He's a good boy, hard-working, respectful. But—" He paused. "He has no future." I felt my blood boil. "Excuse me?" "He has no future," he repeated. "He earns little. He has no property. He has no great ambitions. And my daughter deserves more." I stood up. "My son has something you will never understand. He has values. He has dignity. He has true love." Mr. Harrison laughed. "Love doesn't pay the bills." "No, but honesty brings peace." He approached me. His voice turned cold. "Look, I'm going to be clear. I paid for this wedding. I pay for everything. And when they get married, Sophia is going to keep depending on me. Because your son can't support her. So you better understand who's in charge here." I looked at him intently. I understand perfectly who thinks they are in charge. I left that study without saying anything else. I went down the stairs. Andrew saw me and approached. "Mum, are you okay?" "Yes, son. Just tired. Let's go." We said goodbye. We got into the car. Andrew drove in silence. When we arrived at my house, he told me, "Mum, I know Mr. Harrison is difficult, but I'm doing it for Sophia. She's worth it." I hugged him. "I know, son. I know." But inside I was thinking, "Mr. George Harrison, your time has come. You just have to wait for the wedding day." As I tell all this, I wonder where you are listening to me. Have you also met someone like that? Someone who uses money to control? Who humiliates in the name of success? Write the name of your city in the comments. I want to know where you are listening to me. The week before the wedding was chaos. Andrew barely slept. He had to finish a project at work and at the same time resolve the final details of the ceremony. I saw him exhausted, stressed, but happy. "Mum, I'm getting married in 1 week," he would tell me, with that smile that melted my heart. I can't believe it. I made him coffee, ironed his shirt for the suit fitting, went with him to buy the rings, and all the time I carried that secret that weighed more every day. But something was changing inside me. It was no longer just rage against Mr. Harrison. It was a need for justice. Because the more I saw him act, the more I realized that this man was not only deceiving his family, he was deceiving everyone. And the worst thing, he enjoyed doing it. On Tuesday of that week, I received an unexpected call. It was Robert, the investigator. "Mrs. Johnson, I need to see you. I found something else." "What did you find?" "I prefer to tell you in person. Can you come to my office this afternoon?" I went. I went up those same stairs I knew so well. The smell of detergent and old coffee was still there. Robert was waiting for me with another folder. "Sit down," he said to me in a serious voice. I sat down. My hands were trembling. "What's going on?" Robert opened the folder. He took out new documents. I investigated the finances of Harrison and Associates more thoroughly, and I found something serious. What? Mr. Harrison is not only diverting money for his other family, he is also involved in construction fraud. My breath caught. What kind of fraud? 2 years ago, he won a bid to build a housing complex in the suburbs of New York. 120 low-income housing units. The government gave him an advance of $25 million. And he only built 40 houses. The other 80 were never finished. He kept the money. He said there were problems with suppliers, that material prices went up, that there were delays. But it was all a lie. My God, there are families who paid a deposit, who waited years, and they never received their house. Now there is a class action lawsuit against him, and an investigation by the district attorney's office. I felt the floor move beneath my feet. When is that going to explode? Robert checked his notes. According to my sources, the DA is going to issue an arrest warrant in the next 3 months, maybe sooner. 3 months? Yes, Mr. Harrison is living his last days of freedom. I remained silent. Robert continued. And there's more. The company is technically bankrupt. Employees haven't been paid their full salary for 2 months. There's seized machinery, 3 stalled projects, and the bank has already started a collection process for the loan I mentioned. And Mr. Harrison is still spending like nothing happened? Exactly. Last week he bought a new car, a BMW. He paid in cash, with cash. Where did he get that money? Robert looked at me intently. Probably from the company till, or some hidden account. This man is an expert at hiding money. I closed my eyes. And his wife? Does Mrs. Lois know anything about this? I don't know, but I doubt it. She comes from a traditional conservative family. If she knew her husband had another family, she probably would have divorced him already, or at least confronted him. But there are no signs of that, so she lives deceived, like many wives of men like that. I sighed. What else did you find? Robert took out more photos. He had been following Mr. Harrison all week. He goes to Veronica's apartment 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. He arrives around 7 o'clock at night. He stays until 11, sometimes longer. And his wife doesn't suspect? He tells her he has meetings, business dinners, client gatherings, and she believes him, or pretends to believe him. I looked at the photos. Mr. Harrison entering the building, kissing Veronica on the balcony, playing with the children in the park. And I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Disgust. I couldn't sleep that night. I stayed awake, sitting on my bed, looking out the window. Outside, the city slept. The lights of the buildings blinked. The silence was deep. And I thought. I thought about Andrew, about his excitement, about his love for Sophia. I thought about Sophia, about her innocence, about how desperately she sought the love of a father who didn't deserve it. I thought about Mrs. Lois, about her silence, about her sadness. I thought about those children, Mr. Harrison's secret children, who were growing up without a present father, who lived in the shadow. And I thought about all those families who lost their savings, who waited years for a house that never came, who trusted a man who robbed them. And I understood something. This was no longer just about protecting my son. It was about doing justice. Mr. George Harrison had built his life on lies. He had trampled on everyone in his path. He had used money, power, and arrogance to get away with it, and no one had stopped him. Until now. On Thursday afternoon, 2 days before the wedding, I went to visit a friend. Her name was Teresa. I had known her for 20 years. She was a lawyer. She worked in family law. We sat in her office. I told her everything. I showed her the folders, the documents, the photos. Teresa reviewed everything carefully. She didn't say anything for several minutes. Finally, she looked up. "Mary, this is explosive. I know. If you make this public, you're going to destroy that family." "I know. Are you sure you want to do it?" I remained silent. Teresa continued. "Look, I understand you want to protect your son, but think about Sophia. She's not to blame for having a father like that. If you reveal this on the wedding day, you're going to ruin the most important day of her life." "And what if I don't say anything?" I replied. "What if I let Andrew enter that family of lies? What if Mr. Harrison continues to humiliate him? What if he uses him? What if he destroys his self-esteem?" Teresa sighed. "It's a difficult decision." "No, it's not anymore. Mr. Harrison challenged me. He told me he was in charge, that my son wasn't good enough, and he planned to humiliate him at his own wedding." "How do you know that?" "I know. I know him. Men like him can't help it. They need to show their power. Always." Teresa nodded. "And what are you going to do?" "I'm going to wait. I'm going to that wedding. And if Mr. Harrison dares to humiliate my son again, then I'm going to reveal everything." "In public?" "In public." Teresa looked at me with concern. "Mary, that's going to be brutal." "I know. The consequences are going to be enormous." "I know. And are you willing to live with that?" I took a deep breath. "Yes, because the truth is always better than a lie, even if it hurts." Teresa was silent. Then she said, "Then you need to be prepared, because when you reveal that, Mr. Harrison is going to deny everything. He'll try to discredit you. He'll say you're crazy, that you're jealous, that you made it all up." That's why I brought proof. Proof helps, but it's not always enough. You need witnesses. You need someone else to confirm what you're saying. "Who?" Teresa thought for a moment. "Do you know anyone who works at Mr. Harrison's company?" I shook my head. "No." "Then you're going to have to trust that the evidence speaks for itself." I nodded. "It will." I left that office with absolute clarity. I knew what I had to do. I went to a print shop. I had copies made of all the documents, photos, bank statements, transfers, everything. I prepared 3 envelopes, one for Andrew, one for Sophia, one for Mrs. Lois. I put them in my purse, and I waited. On Friday night, the day before the wedding, Andrew came over for dinner at my house. He was nervous, but excited. "Mum, tomorrow's the day. I can't believe it's finally here." I served him chicken and mashed potatoes, his favorite since childhood. "Are you ready?" I asked him. "I think so." "Well, I'm nervous, but happy, very happy." "And Sophia?" "She is too, although she's a little stressed. Her dad still wants to control everything." I felt a knot in my stomach. What did he do now? Nothing serious. He just wants to give a long speech. He says he has important things to say. There it was. The confirmation I needed. Mr. Harrison was going to use that microphone to humiliate my son. I knew it, and I was going to be ready. That night, after Andrew left, I took out the 3 envelopes. I put them on the kitchen table. I looked at them for hours, and I asked myself, am I doing the right thing? But then I remembered everything. I remembered the families who lost their homes. I remembered those children who grew up without a father. I remembered Mrs. Lois living a lie. I remembered Sophia desperately seeking the love of a man incapable of giving it. And I remembered Andrew, my son, my boy, the good, honest, hard-working man that Monster had called an idiot. And I knew the answer. Yes, I was doing the right thing, because justice is not always comfortable, but it is always necessary. I went to sleep late that night, and I dreamed about the next day. I dreamed of Mr. Harrison taking that microphone. I dreamed of his arrogant smile. I dreamed of his poisonous words. And I dreamed of the moment I would get up and snatch that microphone from him. And I would tell the truth that would destroy his world of lies. And when I woke up, I knew that dream was going to come true, because the moment had arrived, the moment for justice. The wedding day dawned with a clear sky. It was Saturday. The sun shone over the city. It was warm, but there was a gentle breeze that moved my window curtains. I got up early. I hadn't slept well. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the same scene. Mr. Harrison in front of the microphone, his cruel words, Andrew's face sinking in shame. But I also saw myself, getting up, taking that microphone, and telling the truth. I made coffee. I sat in the kitchen. I looked at the 3 envelopes I had left on the table. One for Andrew, one for Sophia, one for Mrs. Lois. I took them. I put them in my purse, along with the copies of all the documents. And I took a deep breath. Everything changes today, I thought. The religious ceremony would be at 5 o'clock in the afternoon at St. Patrick's Cathedral. The reception, at 7, in the country club ballroom. Andrew had asked me to arrive early at the church. Mum, I want you to be with me before I go in. It gives me a lot of peace to see you. I arrived at 4. The church was decorated with white roses and ivory ribbons. It smelled of incense and fresh flowers. Everything was elegant, impeccable. Andrew was in a side room with his groomsmen. When he saw me, he smiled. Mum. I approached. I hugged him. He smelled like new cologne. He was nervous. His hands were trembling a little. How are you feeling? I asked him. Nervous, happy, scared, all at the same time. I took his hands. Andrew, I want you to know something. No matter what happens today, I will always be on your side. Always. He looked at me strangely. No matter what happens? Mum, are you okay? I smiled. Yes, son. I just wanted to tell you. I hugged him again, and I felt my heart break, because I knew that after today, nothing would ever be the same. The ceremony was beautiful. Sophia entered arm in arm with Mr. Harrison. She wore a white dress, simple but elegant. Her veil fell like a cascade of lace. She was radiant. Mr. Harrison walked with his chest puffed out with pride, as if he were giving away a trophy, not his daughter. When they reached the altar, Father Michael blessed the union. Andrew and Sophia exchanged vows. They looked at each other with true, genuine, pure love. And I, sitting in the 3rd row, cried. I cried with happiness for my son, and I cried with sadness, because I knew what was coming. The reception at the country club began exactly at 7 o'clock. The ballroom was huge. Round tables with white tablecloths, centerpieces with roses and candles, a dance floor in the center, a stage with a microphone and speakers. There were more than 200 guests. Business people, politicians, wealthy families, all dressed in expensive suits and designer dresses. And then there was us, my family, Andrew's cousins, his friends from college, his best man, who was an electrician, his maid of honor, who worked at a stationery store. You could see the difference. Two worlds in the same room, but Andrew didn't seem to notice. He was happy, dancing with Sophia, laughing with his friends, hugging his aunts and uncles. I sat at a side table, watched everything, and waited. Dinner went smoothly. They served steak and potatoes, salad, mushroom soup. Everything was delicious. People ate, talked, laughed. And then the time for the toasts arrived. The MC took the microphone. Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to be here, celebrating the union of Andrew and Sophia. At this time, the bride's father, Mr. George Harrison, has a few words to share. My heart started beating faster. Mr. Harrison got up, walked towards the stage, took the microphone, smiled, and began to speak. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this very special night. Applause. As a father, this is a bittersweet moment, because today I give away my daughter, my princess, my pride. He looked at Sophia. She smiled, with tears in her eyes. Then he looked at Andrew, and his expression changed. Sophia has always been very special, smart, beautiful, capable. She could have chosen anyone. Anyone. Pause. But she chose Andrew. Nervous laughter. And well, Andrew is a hard-working boy. I can't deny that. He comes from a humble but honest family. The word humble sounded like poison. When Sophia told me she wanted to marry him, I said, "Daughter, are you sure? This boy has nothing. He has no property. He has no business. He has no bright future." The ballroom fell silent. Andrew looked down. His face turned pale. Sophia took his hand, but she looked uncomfortable. Mr. Harrison continued. But Sophia insisted. And well, when a woman gets her heart set on something, there's no way to change her mind. More laughter, but this time, cruel. So today, on this very special day, I want to toast my daughter, to her bravery, to her stubbornness. He raised his glass. And I want to say something I already told my family in private. He looked directly at Andrew. That boy is an idiot, but my daughter insisted on marrying him. The ballroom erupted in laughter. Some guests applauded, others looked uncomfortable. But I felt something inside me break. I looked at Andrew. His eyes were glassy, his hands clenched into fists, his jaw tense. Sophia hugged him, whispering something in his ear. Mrs. Lois looked at her plate, ashamed. And Mr. Harrison was still smiling, enjoying his moment of power. Then I got up. My legs were trembling, but I walked towards the stage. Everyone looked at me. Mr. Harrison saw me approaching. His smile faded. "Mrs. Johnson, what are you doing?" I didn't answer. I climbed onto the stage. I snatched the microphone from his hands. "Excuse me, Mr. Harrison, but now it's my turn to speak." The ballroom fell into absolute silence. I looked at all the guests, 200 people looking at me. I took a deep breath, and I spoke. "Good evening. My name is Mary Johnson. I am Andrew's mother." My voice was trembling, but it was firm. "A few minutes ago, Mr. Harrison called my son an idiot, in front of all of you, in front of his own daughter, on their wedding day." Silence. "And I want to say something. My son is not an idiot. My son is an honest man, hard-working, a man of integrity, a man who pays his debts, who keeps his word, who respects women, who loves with his whole heart." I looked at Mr. Harrison. "But you, Mr. Harrison, you don't know what it is to be a real man." His face turned red. "How dare you?" "I dare because I have proof." I took the documents out of my purse. I held them up high. "Over the past few weeks, I have investigated your life, and I found things that everyone here should know." Mrs. Lois got up from her chair, pale. "What are you saying?" I looked at the guests. "Mr. George Harrison has two families." Gasps, murmurs. "He has a wife here, Mrs. Lois, and he has another woman, Veronica Smith, with whom he has two children, a 7-year-old boy, a 5-year-old girl." Mrs. Lois put her hands to her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears. Mr. Harrison tried to snatch the microphone from me. "That's a lie! She's crazy!" I dodged him. "A lie? I have photos. I have addresses. I have bank transfer receipts." I showed the photos. People stood up to see. "Mr. Harrison pays the rent for Veronica's apartment. He pays for his children's school. He pays for everything." "With what money?" "With money from his company, Harrison and Associates." The company employees who were there looked at each other. "But that's not all," I continued. "Mr. Harrison is also a thief." "Shut up," Mr. Harrison shouted. 2 years ago, he won a bid to build 120 low-income housing units. He received $25 million from the government. How many houses did he build? 40. And the rest of the money? He stole it. Shouts, indignation. There are families who paid deposits, who waited years and never received their house because this man stole their money. Mr. Harrison tried to leave the stage, but people surrounded him. "I demand proof," he shouted. "Here it is." I handed copies of the documents to the nearest guests. They passed from hand to hand. Bank statements, transfers, photos, everything. Mrs. Lois cried inconsolably. Sophia hugged her in shock. Andrew looked at me, paralyzed, and I continued. "The company Harrison and Associates is bankrupt. It owes more than $12 million. There are foreclosures, lawsuits, and an investigation by the district attorney's office." A murmur went through the ballroom. "In the coming months, Mr. Harrison will be arrested, because justice, although slow, always arrives." I looked Mr. Harrison directly in the eyes. "You called my son an idiot, but the real idiot is you, because you built your life on lies, and lies always crumble." I put the microphone on the stage. I walked down, and I walked towards Andrew. I hugged him. "I'm sorry, son, but I couldn't let him humiliate you again." Andrew hugged me back, crying. "Mum, is all that true?" "Yes, son, all of it." The ballroom became chaos. People talked, shouted, left. Mr. Harrison tried to defend himself, but no one believed him. Mrs. Lois left with her sisters. Sophia ran after her. Andrew stood, in the middle of the empty ballroom, watching everything fall apart. And I knew I had done the right thing, even if it hurt, even if everything had been destroyed, because the truth is always better than a lie. Always. I still wonder if I did the right thing. And you? What would you have done in my place? That night there was no party, no dancing, no music, no laughter. Only the echo of the truth bounced against the walls of the empty ballroom. The guests left one by one, some indignant, others embarrassed, still others, curious, checking their phones to confirm what they had just heard. The tables were half-eaten, the champagne glasses full, the white roses withering under the lights that no one turned off. And in the middle of all that silent chaos were we. Andrew, sitting in a chair, his head in his hands. Sophia, standing next to him, crying silently. Mrs. Lois, in a corner, being comforted by her sisters. And Mr. Harrison? Mr. Harrison had disappeared. He left as soon as he could, without giving explanations, without apologizing, without looking back, like cowards do. I approached Andrew, knelt in front of him. Son. He didn't answer. Andrew, look at me. He looked up. His eyes were red, his jaw clenched. Why, Mum? Why did you do it? His voice was broken, full of pain. Because I couldn't let that man humiliate you again. But you destroyed my wedding. You destroyed everything. No, son. I didn't destroy anything. He did. Years ago. I just brought the truth to light. You could have told me before. You could have warned me in private. I tried, but you were so in love, so excited. You didn't want to see the signs. Andrew stood up. He walked towards the window. He looked out at the night without seeing it. Sophia hates me now. No, son. She doesn't hate you. Her family is destroyed because of you. No. Her family was destroyed years ago. It's just that no one wanted to see it. Andrew turned to me. There was anger in his eyes. You had no right, Mum. You had no right to do that. Those words hurt me more than any blow. I had every right. I am your mother, and my job is to protect you, even if you don't understand it now. Protect me? You just embarrassed me in front of 200 people. No, Andrew. The one who embarrassed you was Mr. Harrison. I just defended your dignity. He was silent, breathing heavily. Then he said softly, I need to be alone. And he left the ballroom. I stood there, watching my son walk away, and I felt my heart break in two. Sophia approached me. Her makeup was smeared, her dress was wrinkled, her eyes were swollen from crying so much. Mrs. Johnson, I turned to her. Sophia, Is it true? She interrupted me. Is everything you said true? I looked her in the eyes. Yes, it's true. She put her hands to her face. Oh my God, I can't believe it. My dad has another family. He has other children. And I never knew anything. I'm sorry, Sophia. How long have you known? For a few weeks. And why didn't you tell me before? Because I didn't want to ruin your day. But when your father humiliated Andrew, I couldn't stay silent. Sophia shook her head. My mum is devastated. My sisters are furious. And I don't know what to feel. She slumped into a chair. My whole life I thought my dad was a hero, a successful, respected man. And it turns out he's a liar, a thief, a monster. I sat next to her. I took her hand. Your father is responsible for his own decisions. You are not to blame for anything. But I feel like I am. I feel like I should have seen the signs, the lies, the absences. You couldn't see them because you trusted him. And that's not your fault. That's what love does. It makes you blind. Sophia looked at me with those eyes full of pain. And now what am I going to do? How am I going to look Andrew in the eyes? How am I going to… She broke down again. I hugged her. I let her cry on my shoulder. And I thought, this girl doesn't deserve this. But life doesn't always give us what we deserve. Mrs. Lois approached after a while. Her sisters had left. She was alone. She walked slowly, as if every step hurt her. Mrs. Johnson. I stood up. Mrs. Lois. We looked at each other in silence. Two women, two mothers, two survivors. Is it true? She asked, her voice trembling. Is everything you said True. Yes. She closed her eyes. A tear rolled down her cheek. I I suspected it. For years. But I never wanted to confirm it. I'm sorry. No, you're not sorry. She looked at me harshly. You came here to destroy my family. No, I came to protect my son. And crush my daughter in the process. Your daughter will be fine, because she has something her husband never gave her. She has the truth. Mrs. Lois laughed, but it was a bitter laugh, without joy. The truth. And what good does the truth do me now? My marriage is a lie. My life is a lie. Everything I built fell apart in one night. No, it fell apart years ago. It's just that you didn't want to see it. She looked at me with anger. Who are you to judge me? I'm not judging you. I understand why you stayed silent. Because of fear. Because of shame. Because of the children. I understand. But that doesn't change the fact that your husband is a fraud. Mrs. Lois took a deep breath. I want to see the proof. I handed her the envelope with her name on it. She opened it. She checked the photos, the documents, the transfers. I watched her face change, from pain to rage, from rage to resignation. When she finished, she closed the envelope. What are you going to do with this? I asked her. I don't know, but I'll tell you something. George Harrison is no longer my husband. I don't know if he ever was. She turned and left, and I stood there, alone, surrounded by the remains of a wedding that never ended. I left the ballroom at 11 o'clock at night. Outside, the air was fresh. The sky was clear. The stars shone. I walked towards my car. My legs were trembling. My hands, too. I sat in the driver's seat. I closed the door. And finally, I allowed myself to cry. I cried for Andrew, for his pain, for his rage. I cried for Sophia, for her lost innocence. I cried for Mrs. Lois, for all those years of lies. And I cried for myself, because I knew I had done the right thing. But I also knew I had lost something in the process. I had lost my son's trust, and that hurt more than anything. I arrived home after midnight. I went in. I closed the door. I took off my shoes. The house was empty, silent, cold. I sat on the sofa. I looked at the ceiling, and I thought, was it worth it? I didn't know yet. Maybe I never would. But there was something I did know. The truth always has a price, and I had just paid it. On Sunday morning, Andrew didn't call me, not on Monday nor Tuesday. A week passed, then two, and nothing. I tried calling him. He didn't answer. I sent him messages. He didn't reply. I went to his apartment. He didn't open the door. And I understood. My son didn't want to see me. Not yet. Maybe never. In those weeks, the scandal exploded. The newspapers published articles about Mr. George Harrison, about the fraud, about the unfinished housing, about the affected families. Some of those families contacted me. They thanked me for revealing the truth. They told me they had been waiting years for justice. The district attorney's office accelerated the investigation. 2 months later, Mr. Harrison was arrested. I saw him on the news, handcuffed, walking towards a police car, with his head down. He was no longer the arrogant man from the wedding day. He was just a broken man, defeated. And I didn't feel satisfaction. I only felt sadness because justice had arrived, but at a very high cost. Sophia called me one afternoon. Mrs. Johnson, can we talk? Of course, dear. We met at a cafe, the same one where we had talked weeks ago. She looked tired, thinner, but also stronger. I want to thank you, she told me. Thank me? Yes, for telling the truth, even though it hurt, even though it destroyed my world. You did what no one else had the courage to do. How is your mum? She filed for divorce. She moved in with my grandmother. She's processing everything, but I think she'll be fine. And you? I'm also processing. Discovering you have two siblings you never knew is strange, but I met Veronica and the children. Really? Yes, they're good kids. And Veronica, she didn't know my dad was married either. He told her he was divorced. I sighed. Your father deceived everyone. I know, and now he's paying for it. She was silent for a moment. Then she asked, How is Andrew? I don't know. He won't talk to me. I know. He won't talk to me either. We looked at each other. Two women who had lost the same man, for different reasons. Give him time, Sophia said. Andrew is a good man, and when the anger passes, he'll understand. I hope you're right. I am, because if there's one thing I learned from all this, it's that the truth, even if it hurts, always makes us stronger. I smiled, for the first time in weeks. You are very wise, Sophia. No, I just learned from the best. She took my hand. Thank you, Mrs. Johnson, for protecting Andrew, and for protecting me too, even if I didn't see it at the time. And there, in that cafe, with the sun coming through the window, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Andrew finally called me 3 months later. Mum. Just hearing his voice made me cry. Son, can we meet? Sure, whenever you want. Tomorrow? At your house? Yes. He arrived at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, with Sophia. They came in holding hands. I opened the door. I looked at them. There was so much to say, so much to explain. But Andrew just hugged me and said, Forgive me, Mum, for everything I said to you, for how I treated you. You were right about everything. I cried on his shoulder. No, son, you forgive me for ruining your wedding. You didn't ruin anything. You saved my life, our lives. Sophia nodded. It's true, Mrs. Johnson. If you hadn't spoken up, I would have continued living a lie. And Andrew would have suffered years of humiliation. We sat in the living room. I made them coffee, like old times. And Andrew told me, Mum, I learned something. I learned that sometimes love also means telling difficult truths, even if they hurt, even if they push us away for a while. And the wedding? I asked. Andrew and Sophia looked at each other. We're going to get married again, Sophia said. Small, just close family, true friends, without lies, without appearances. And without Mr. Harrison, Andrew added. I smiled. That sounds perfect. That night when they left, I sat in the living room, looking out the window, the city lights, the dark sky, and I thought about everything that had happened. I had lost a lot. My son's trust for a while, the illusion of a perfect wedding, the peace of my conscience. But I had also gained something. I had gained the certainty that I had done the right thing, because defending those you love is not always easy, but it is always necessary. And the truth, even if it hurts, always sets us free. Always. The months that followed were for rebuilding. Not just for Andrew and Sophia, for me too, because I discovered something I didn't expect. That telling the truth doesn't make you a hero, it makes you an uncomfortable witness. Someone everyone respects, but few want to be close to. Some people called me brave, others called me a busybody, and others simply stopped talking to me. But I learned to live with that, because inner peace is worth more than external approval. Andrew and Sophia got married again 3 months later. It was a small ceremony, in an old chapel downtown. Only 30 people, close family, true friends. There was no reception hall, no gala dinner, no list of expensive gifts. After the ceremony, we went to eat at a family restaurant. We ate turkey chili, rice, beans, we drank lemonade. We laughed, we cried, we told stories. It was perfect, because it was real. When Andrew asked me to dance with him, he put on It Had to Be You, the same song he had chosen for the first wedding. "Mum," he told me as we danced, "thank you." "For what, son?" "For teaching me that true love is not built on appearances. It is built on truth, even if it hurts." I hugged him tightly. "I will always protect you, Andrew. Always." "I know, Mum, and forgive me for not understanding it sooner." "There's nothing to forgive." We danced in silence, and I felt something inside me heal because my son had come back, and that was the only thing that mattered. Sophia also looked for me that day. "Mrs. Johnson, can I talk to you?" We went out to the restaurant garden. There were lilacs blooming. The air smelled like wet earth and purple flowers. "What's wrong, dear?" "I want to tell you something. About my dad." "What happened?" Sophia took a deep breath. "I went to visit him in jail." I was surprised. "You went?" "Yes, 2 weeks ago." "And how was it?" "Horrible, but necessary." She sat on a bench. I sat next to her. When I entered the visiting room, I barely recognized him. He was thin, gaunt, with the orange inmate uniform. He no longer looked like the powerful man everyone knew. "What did he tell you?" "At first, nothing. He just looked at me, as if he couldn't believe I was there." Sophia wiped a tear. Then he said, "Sophia, forgive me. Forgive me for everything." "And what did you tell him?" I told him the truth. I said, "Dad, I don't know if I can forgive you. You lied to me my whole life. You lied to Mum. You lied to Veronica, to those children, to the families who trusted you. You destroyed lives, including your own." How did he react? He cried. For the first time in my life, I saw my dad cry. He told me I was right, that he had been a coward, that he had built his life on lies because he was afraid of not being enough. Sophia looked at me. He told me he was always afraid that people would discover who he really was. A poor boy from a small town who pretended to be rich his whole life. That he bought things he couldn't afford to impress people he didn't care about. I felt a pang of sadness. "And what did you feel?" "I felt pity, because I understood that my dad wasn't a monster. He was a broken man who made terrible decisions, and now he's paying for them." "Did you forgive him?" Sophia shook her head. "Not yet, but someday I will, because holding a grudge only hurts me, not him." I smiled. "You are very wise, Sophia. I learned from you. You taught me that the truth, even if it hurts, always sets us free." She took my hand. "Thank you, Mrs. Johnson, for not staying silent, for defending Andrew, and for defending me too, even though I didn't ask for it." I hugged her. "I will always be here for you two." That night, When I returned home, I sat in the kitchen with a cup of chamomile tea. I looked out the window. The moon was full. It illuminated the empty streets. And I thought about everything that had happened. I thought about Mr. Harrison, about how he had built an empire of lies that crumbled in one night. I thought about Mrs. Lois, about how she had found the courage to divorce and start over at 55. I thought about Sophia, about how she had transformed her pain into wisdom. And I thought about Andrew, about how he had learned that true love doesn't need luxuries, it only needs truth. And then I understood something. Justice doesn't always come quickly, but it always comes. A few weeks later, I received a letter. It came from the district attorney's office. They asked me to testify as a witness in the case against Mr. George Harrison. I accepted. I went to the courthouse one Tuesday morning. It was an old building, with long hallways and grey walls. It smelled of old paper and reheated coffee. I sat in the waiting room. There were other people there. Some were families who had lost their savings because of Mr. Harrison. Others were company employees who hadn't been paid in months. An older woman approached me. "Are you Mary Johnson?" "Yes, I'm Martha Miller. My husband and I paid a deposit for a house 3 years ago. We never received it. We lost all our savings." I stood up. I hugged her. "I'm so sorry." "No, thank you. That man is paying for what he did. Thank you for having the courage to speak up." Other people approached. They thanked me. They told me their stories. And I understood that what I had done had not only protected my son, it had given a voice to all those people who had been silenced. When it was my turn to testify, I entered the room. There was a judge, a prosecutor, defense attorneys, and Mr. Harrison. He was sitting at a table, handcuffed. He looked at me when I entered, but there was no longer any arrogance in his eyes, only defeat. The prosecutor asked me questions. I told him everything: how I had discovered the truth, how I had hired an investigator, how I had found the proof. I presented the documents, the photos, the transfers. Everything was recorded, documented, undeniable. When I finished, the judge thanked me. "Mrs. Johnson, your testimony has been valuable. Thank you for your cooperation." I left that room with the certainty that I had done the right thing, not only as a mother, but as a citizen. 2 months later, Mr. Harrison was sentenced. 12 years in prison for fraud and embezzlement. I didn't go to the hearing, but Sophia called me to tell me. "He's in jail, Mrs. Johnson. He's going to be there for a long time." How do you feel? Sad, but also relieved, because finally there was justice. And your mum? She's fine. She started working. She opened a small craft store. She says that for the first time in her life, she feels like she is the owner of her own destiny. I smiled. I'm happy for her. And is there anything else? Sophia said, "What?" Veronica also left my dad. She moved to Florida with her children. She started over. And last week she wrote to me. She said she was very sorry for everything that happened, that she didn't know the whole truth either. And what did you tell her? That it wasn't her fault, that my dad deceived all of us, and that I hope someday we can meet, because those children are my siblings, and they deserve to have family. I was speechless. Sophia, you're incredible. No, I just learned that life is too short to hold grudges, and that true family is not the one that shares blood, it's the one that shares truth. That night, I took out a shoebox I kept in my closet. Inside, there were old photos of when Andrew was a child, of when he played in the park, of when he graduated from college. I looked at those photos, and I thought about everything we had lived through. I thought about the nights when we didn't have enough money to pay the rent, about the times we ate beans because there wasn't enough money for meat, about the times Andrew asked me, "Mum, why don't we have a car like the other kids?" And I told him, "Because the important thing is not what you have, son, it's what you are." I closed the box, because I understood that everything I had done, all the difficult decisions I had made, all the nights I had cried alone, had been worth it. Because my son was a good man, honest, hard-working, a man of integrity, and that was more valuable than any fortune. One Sunday afternoon, Andrew and Sophia came to visit me. They brought news. "Mum, we have something to tell you," Andrew said, with a huge smile. "What is it?" Sophia touched her belly. "I'm going to be a grandma," I said with tears in my eyes. "Yes?" Andrew shouted, hugging me. "You're going to be a grandma?" I cried with happiness, because after so much darkness, finally there was light. After so much pain, finally there was hope. And after so much truth, finally there was peace. That night, before sleeping, I wrote something in my diary, something I wanted to always remember. Today I learned that life doesn't always give us what we deserve. But if we are brave, if we defend the truth, if we protect those we love, life gives us something better. It gives us inner peace. And that, in the end, is the only thing that matters. I closed the diary, I turned off the light, and I slept peacefully, for the first time in months. Months passed. Sophia's belly grew. Andrew was excited. He painted the baby's room blue. He bought a crib. He read books about fatherhood. And I knitted baby clothes. I prepared blankets. I imagined what it would be like to have a grandchild. One day, Sophia called me. "Mrs. Johnson, I want to ask you something. Tell me, dear, when the baby is born, could you be at the birth? Since my mum will also be there, I thought it would be nice for both grandmas to be together." My eyes filled with tears. It would be an honor. The baby was born in March. A boy, healthy, beautiful, with Andrew's eyes and Sophia's nose. When I held him in my arms for the first time, I felt the world stop. He was so small, so fragile, so perfect. "What will his name be?" I asked. Andrew and Sophia looked at each other. "His name will be Michael," Andrew said. "Michael Johnson." "Why Michael?" "Because of Father Michael, the one who married us. He told us something that day that we never forgot." "What did he tell you?" Sophia replied. "He told us, truth is the foundation of all true love. Without truth there is no trust, and without trust there is no love." Andrew continued, "And we thought that was a good name for our son, because we want him to grow up knowing that the truth is always the most important thing." I hugged my grandson. "Welcome to the world, Michael. You are going to grow up in a family that loves you, that protects you, and that will always tell you the truth." Mrs. Lois was there too. She approached. She smiled at me. "Thank you, Mary." "For what?" "For saving me. For taking my family out of that lie. I didn't have the courage, but you did." I took her hand. "We all have our moment. Yours came when you decided to divorce. Mine came when I decided to speak up." We hugged. Two women, two survivors, two grandmothers. That night when I returned home, I sat in the living room. I looked at a photo Andrew had given me. It was of the four of us, of him, Sophia, baby Michael, and me, all smiling. and I thought about all the path we had travelled, from that terrible night at the country club to this moment of peace, and I understood something profound. Justice is not revenge. Justice is restoration. It is giving people what they deserve, not out of malice, but out of balance. Mr. Harrison deserved to pay for his lies. Mrs. Lois deserved to live in truth. Sophia deserved to know her father as he was. And Andrew deserved to be defended. That was justice, and I had been the instrument of that justice. Not because I was special, but because I decided not to stay silent. A few weeks later, I ran into one of the families affected by Mr. Harrison. It was at the grocery store. A woman recognized me. "You're Mary Johnson, right?" "Yes." "I want to thank you for speaking up, for defending the truth. Thanks to you, we recovered some of our money. Not all of it, but some. I'm so happy." You know, I also kept silent for years. My husband was cheating on me. And I didn't say anything because I was afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of not being able to support my children. I understand. But when I saw what you did, when I saw that you stood up and told the truth, even if it cost you, it gave me courage, and I confronted my husband, and I divorced him. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Now I live alone, but I live in peace, and that is priceless. I hugged her. I'm so happy for you. Thank you for teaching me that it's never too late to tell the truth. That conversation stuck with me because I understood that what I had done had not only affected my family, it had inspired other women, other mothers, other survivors to raise their voices. And now, as I tell you this, as I remember every moment of that night that changed everything, I wonder if I would do the same again. And the answer is yes, 1,000 times yes. Because defending those you love is not optional, it is a duty. It is, and the truth, even if it hurts, is always better than a lie. 2 years passed since that night. 2 years since I took that microphone and told the truth. 2 years since Mr. George Harrison's world collapsed. And in those 2 years, I saw how life itself took care of doing justice, because I learned something. Karma is not revenge, it is balance. It is life giving back to each person what they sowed. And Mr. Harrison harvested exactly what he planted. One Saturday afternoon, while watching Michael at the park, I received a call from Sophia. "Mrs. Johnson, can you come over to my house? I need to talk to you." "Did something happen?" "Yes, but I prefer to tell you in person." I arrived at her house an hour later. Andrew was working. Sophia opened the door for me. She looked tired but calm. "What happened, dear?" We sat in the living room. She made lemon tea. "My dad sent me a letter from jail." "What did he tell you?" Sophia took the envelope out of her purse. It was a handwritten letter. The handwriting was shaky, as if he had written it with difficulty. "Can I read it to you?" "Of course." Sophia unfolded the letter, and she read, "Dear Sophia, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if you'll forgive me someday, but I need to write to you. I've been in this cell for 2 years. 2 years with a lot of time to think, to remember, to regret. There are no luxuries here, no power, no admiration, only silence. And in that silence, I was finally able to hear my own conscience. I was a bad husband, a bad father, a bad man. I lied to your mother for 30 years. I took her youth, her trust, her peace. I lied to you, my daughters. I made you believe that money was the most important thing, that success was measured in cars and big houses. And I lied to Veronica and my other children. I promised them a future I could never give them. But above all, I lied to myself. I convinced myself that I was a successful man, important, respected, when in reality I was just a coward, an imposter, an empty man who bought things to fill a void that was never filled. Today I woke up in my cell and saw myself in the mirror, and I didn't recognize the man who was there, thin, grey-haired, with deep wrinkles, with tired eyes. And I thought, is this what's left of George Harrison? The answer is yes, this is what's left. A broken man who lost everything. I lost my family, my company, my freedom, my dignity, and the worst, I lost my chance to be a good father. Sophia, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't deserve it. I just ask you to learn from my mistakes, not to make the same ones, to raise your son with love, with truth, with humility, and to know that even though I was a bad father, I always loved you, in my wrong way. But I loved you. I wish you the best, daughter. You, Andrew, and my grandson Michael. Your father, George. Sophia finished reading. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. I was also crying. What are you going to do? I asked her. I don't know. Part of me wants to forgive him, but another part, still hurts. Forgiveness is not something that happens overnight. It is a path, and you decide when you are ready to walk it. Sophia nodded. What I do know is that I no longer hold a grudge against him, because a grudge only poisons me, not him. I hugged her. You are very strong, Sophia. I learned from the best. A few months later, I ran into Martha Miller, the woman who had lost her savings because of Mr. Harrison. We were at the supermarket. She recognized me and approached. Mrs. Johnson, how are you? Good, Martha. And you? Better. Much better. Thanks to Mr. Harrison's sentence, we managed to recover some of the money. Not all of it, but some. I'm so happy. And there's something else. My husband and I bought a small plot of land in rural Pennsylvania. We are building our house ourselves, little by little. But it's ours. I smiled. How wonderful. Yes, and you know what the best part is? That we are building it with honesty, without deception, without lies. And that gives us peace. Honesty always brings peace. Martha took my hands. Thank you, Mrs. Johnson, for not staying silent, for defending us. You changed our lives. No, Martha, you changed your own lives. I just told the truth, but you had the courage to fight. We said goodbye with a hug, and I felt something inside me heal a little more. Another year passed. Michael turned 3. He was a cheerful, curious, smart boy. He looked so much like Andrew that sometimes my heart ached with love. Andrew had been promoted at work. He was now a project manager. He earned well. He wasn't rich, but he lived with dignity. Sophia had finished her master's degree in architecture. She worked designing eco-friendly houses. She was doing very well. And I was still the same, but calmer, more at peace. One day, Andrew came to visit me. Mum, do you remember Mr. Harrison? Of course. Why? Sophia told me he's very sick. He has diabetes, and since there's no good medical care in jail, he's getting worse. How serious? Serious. He lost a toe, and they say he might lose more. I felt a pang of sadness. And how is Sophia taking that? Badly. She wants to go see him, but she's afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid of feeling pity. Afraid of believing his lies again. Tell her to go, but tell her to go for herself, not for him. What do you mean? Tell her to go to close that chapter. to say what she needs to say, not to save him, because he has to live the consequences of his actions. Andrew nodded. You're right, Mum. As always. Sophia went to visit Mr. Harrison 2 weeks later. When she returned, she came to my house. She needed to talk. How was it? I asked her. Difficult. Very difficult. Tell me. We sat in the kitchen. I served her coffee, like always. When I entered the visiting room, I barely recognized him. He was in a wheelchair, thin, pale, with completely white hair. Her voice broke. He looked at me and said, Thank you for coming, daughter. I didn't think you would. And what did you say to him? I said, I came because I needed to close this. I needed to tell you how I feel. And how do you feel? Sophia took a deep breath. I told him, Dad, I'm angry with you because you lied to us, because you hurt us, because you chose money over us. But I'm also sad because you wasted so much time being someone you weren't. And now you're here, alone, sick, with nothing. What did he say? He cried. He asked for forgiveness. He told me he wished he could go back in time, that he would do everything differently. Did you believe him? Sophia shrugged. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. But it doesn't matter anymore. Because the past cannot be changed. You can only learn from it. Very true. Before leaving, I told him something else. What? I said, Dad, I hope you find peace. Really, but that peace has to come from you, not from me, not from Mum, not from anyone else. Only from you. I felt a lump in my throat. That was very wise, Sophia. Do you know what the last thing he told me was? What? He said, I once called Andrew an idiot, but the real idiot was always me, because I had everything that mattered and I lost it chasing things that were worth nothing. We remained silent, because those words said everything. Mr. Harrison died 6 months later. It was in the jail infirmary, alone, without family, without friends, just a guard who found him in the morning. Sophia received the news. She cried, not because she missed him, but because she cried for the father she could have had, and who she never had. They held a small funeral, just Sophia, Mrs. Lois, and Sophia's sisters. Andrew didn't go. He asked me if he should go. It's your decision, son. But remember, respect is not for the dead. It is for the living. If you go, go for Sophia, not for him. Andrew decided not to go, and Sophia understood. After the funeral, Sophia called me. Mrs. Johnson, do you know what the saddest thing is? What? That at the funeral it was only us. All those people he called friends. All those business people and politicians. None of them came. They were never friends. They were only contacts. And contacts disappear when there is no longer power. You're right. My dad died alone. Without money. Without family. Without anything. Everything he built, life took away. That's karma, dear. It's not revenge. It's balance. Your father sowed lies, and he harvested loneliness. Sophia sighed. You know, Mrs. Johnson, a few years ago I would have said that my dad was a successful man, that he had everything. But now I understand that he had nothing, because the most important thing in life is not what you have. It's what you leave behind. And my dad didn't leave anything good. But you will leave something good. How do you know? Because you learned from his mistakes. because you are raising Michael with love, with truth, with values. And that is a legacy. One Sunday afternoon, the whole family came to eat at my house. Andrew, Sophia, Michael. Mrs. Lois also came. I made a big pot of chili, everyone's favorite. We ate, we laughed, we told stories, and at one point, Michael, who was now 4 years old, asked me, "Grandma, why did I never meet my other grandpa?" Everyone went silent. I looked at Sophia. She nodded, giving me permission to answer. I knelt in front of Michael. I looked him in the eyes. "Because your other grandpa made bad choices, my love, and bad choices have consequences." "What are consequences?" "They are what happens when you do something wrong. Life teaches you. So you learn." And did he learn? Yes, he learned. But too late. Michael thought for a moment. "Then I'm going to do good things, so I have good consequences." We all smiled. "Exactly, my love. Exactly." I hugged him tight, and I thought, this child is going to change the world, because he grew up in truth. That night, after everyone left, I sat in my rocking chair. I looked at the photos on the wall, photos of Andrew as a child, of his wedding, the second one, the real one, of Michael on his birthdays, and I thought about all the road we had travelled, from that terrible night at the country club to this moment of peace, and I understood something profound. Karmic justice is not magic. It doesn't fall from the sky. It is the sum of our decisions. Mr. Harrison chose to lie. He chose to steal. He chose to betray. And life gave him back loneliness, sickness, death in a cell. I chose to tell the truth. I chose to defend my son. I chose dignity over appearance. And life gave me back peace, family, true love. That is justice. It is not revenge. It is balance. A few months later, Sophia invited me to a conference. A conference? About what? "It's about women entrepreneurs. I want you to come with me." "Why?" "Because you are my inspiration." We went. It was at a downtown hotel. There were about 200 women there. Sophia went up to the stage. She was going to give a talk about her work as an architect. But when she took the microphone, she said something I didn't expect. "Before I talk about architecture, I want to talk to you about my mother-in-law, Mary Johnson." She pointed to me. Everyone turned to look at me. I blushed. 3 years ago, my life fell apart. I discovered that my father had lived a lie his whole life. And I didn't know what to do. But Mary taught me something. She taught me that the truth, even if it hurts, always makes us stronger. That defending what is right is not easy, but it is always worth it. She stood up at my wedding and told the truth when everyone expected silence. And although at the time I didn't understand it, now I know that she saved me. She saved me from living a lie. She saved me from repeating my father's mistakes. And she taught me that a brave woman is not the one who has power. It is the one who tells the truth, even if it costs her everything. The women applauded. Sophia came down from the stage. She hugged me. "Thank you, Mrs. Johnson, for being my example." I cried because I understood that what I had done had not only changed my life, it had changed the lives of many women. And now, 3 years after that night, I can say with certainty that life does do justice. Not always quickly, not always as we expect, but always. Mr. Harrison had power, he had money, he had admiration, but he died alone, without love, without peace, without a legacy. I never had power. I never had money. I never had admiration. But I have something much more valuable. I have my son. I have my daughter-in-law. I have my grandson. I have inner peace. And I have the certainty that I did the right thing. That is true justice. 5 years have passed since that night. 5 years since I took that microphone and changed the course of our lives. Today I am 60 years old. Andrew is 33. Michael is 5. And Sophia is pregnant again. This time it will be a girl. They are going to name her Mary. When they told me, I cried for hours. Why Mary? I asked them. Sophia took my hands. Because we want our daughter to grow up knowing that there was a woman in this family who had the courage to tell the truth, who stood up when everyone expected silence, who defended what was right, even if it cost her everything. We want her to be like you, Mrs. Johnson, strong, brave, honest. I didn't know what to say. I just hugged my son and my daughter-in-law and cried with happiness, because I understood that my story would not end with me. It would live in that girl and in her children and in her grandchildren. The legacy of truth. This morning I woke up early. I made coffee, like every morning. I sat in my rocking chair by the window. I watched the sunrise. The city was waking up slowly. The birds were singing. The sun painted the sky orange and pink. And I thought about everything I had lived through. I thought about my youth, about the difficult years after the divorce, about the nights when I didn't know how I was going to feed my children. I thought about Andrew as a child, about how he asked me why his dad didn't live with us, and how I explained to him, with simple words, that sometimes love is not enough to keep a family together. I thought about all those years working, cleaning houses, selling pies, doing whatever was necessary so that my children had what they needed. And I thought about that night, at the country club, Mr. Harrison in front of the microphone. That boy is an idiot, but my daughter insisted on marrying him. Those words that changed everything, because they forced me to make a decision, to be silent and protect the peace, or to speak up and defend dignity. And I chose dignity, always dignity. I got up from the rocking chair. I went to my room. I opened the drawer of my dresser. Inside there was a diary, the same one where I had written that night, 5 years ago. I opened it. I read what I had written. Today I learned that life doesn't always give us what we deserve. But if we are brave, if we defend the truth, if we protect those we love, life gives us something better. It gives us inner peace. I smiled, because those words were still true. I continued flipping through the diary. There were more pages, more thoughts, more lessons. And I decided to write something new, something that summarized everything I had lived. I took a pen and wrote, "To the woman who reads this someday, maybe you'll be my granddaughter Mary. Maybe you'll be another woman who is going through something difficult. I don't know. But if you are reading this, I want you to know something. Life is going to put you in situations where you will have to choose between truth and comfort, between defending what is right and maintaining peace, between being brave and being silent. And in those moments you will be afraid. Afraid of losing the people you love, afraid of being alone, afraid of the consequences. But let me tell you something I learned after 60 years of life. Silence does not protect anyone. It only protects lies. And lies, sooner or later, always explode. They always hurt. They always destroy. So if you have to choose, choose the truth. Even if it hurts, even if it costs you, even if they push you away. Because truth is the only foundation on which something real can be built. A true love, a true family, a true life. I made that decision 5 years ago. and I lost many things in the process. I lost the illusion of a perfect wedding. I lost my son's trust. For a while. I lost the approval of many people, but I gained something more valuable. I gained my dignity. I gained my inner peace. And I gained the respect of the people who truly matter. Today, my son loves me. My daughter-in-law respects me. My grandson admires me. And that is worth more than any external approval. So don't be afraid to tell the truth. Don't be afraid to defend what is right. Don't be afraid to be brave. Because brave women are the ones who change the world. One truth at a time. With love, Mary Johnson. I closed the diary. I put it in the drawer. And I took a deep breath. Because I felt that I had closed a cycle. I had told my story. I had left my legacy. I had said what I needed to say. And now I could move on. With peace. That afternoon, Andrew and Sophia came to visit me with Michael. The boy ran towards me as soon as he entered. "Grandma, Grandma!" I picked him up. I hugged him. He smelled like baby soap and cookies. "How's my prince?" "Good. Today at school I learned about heroes." "Oh, really? And who are the heroes?" "The teacher said that heroes are people who do difficult things to help others." "Very true." Michael looked at me with those big, curious eyes. "Grandma, are you a hero?" I was speechless. Andrew smiled. Sophia, too. "Why do you ask that, my love?" "Because my mommy told me that you did something very difficult, that you told the truth when no one else wanted to, and that saved us." My eyes filled with tears. "I'm not a hero, Michael. I'm just a grandma who loves her family very much." "But heroes are like that too. They love their family and they protect it." I hugged him tight. "Then yes, my love, I am a hero. Your hero." Michael laughed, and he gave me a kiss on the cheek. And in that moment I felt that everything had been worth it. Every tear, every fear, every sleepless night. Everything. Because I had protected my family, and that was the only thing that mattered. After eating, Sophia asked to speak to me alone. We went out to the garden. There were bougainvilleas blooming. The air smelled of wet earth and flowers. "Mrs. Johnson, there is something I want to tell you." "Tell me, dear." "I went to visit my dad's grave." "How was it?" "Good. I took flowers. I sat there for a while. And I talked to him." "What did you tell him?" Sophia took a deep breath. "I told him I forgave him." I remained silent, waiting. I said, "Dad, for a long time I hated you. I blamed you. I wished you had never existed. But today I understand something. You were human too. You also carried wounds. You were also afraid. And you made bad choices. Choices that hurt a lot of people. But holding a grudge against you only hurts me. So today I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace." Her voice broke. "And you know what, Mrs. Johnson?" When I said those words, I felt as if something heavy was lifted from my chest, as if I could finally breathe. I hugged her. Forgiveness is not for the other person. It is for us, to set ourselves free. I know. And thanks to you, I learned that. Because you taught me that defending the truth does not mean living with a grudge. It means living with dignity. Exactly, dear. Exactly. We stayed there, hugging, under the bougainvilleas. Two women, two generations, two intertwined stories. And I understood that my legacy was not just the truth. It was also forgiveness. Justice without revenge. Balance without hatred. That night, After everyone left, I sat in the living room with a cup of tea. I turned on the television. There was a program about women who had changed their communities. One of the interviewees was Martha Miller, the woman who had lost her savings because of Mr. Harrison. I recognized her immediately. The interviewer asked her, "How did you manage to get ahead after losing everything?" Martha smiled. "There was a woman who inspired me. Her name is Mary Johnson. She had the courage to tell the truth when everyone expected silence. And that taught me that it's never too late to defend what is right." "And what did you do?" "I confronted my situation. I sued. I fought. And I recovered some of my money. With that, I bought a small piece of land. My husband and I built our house with our own hands. And now we live in peace, because it is a house built on truth, not on lies." The interviewer nodded. "What would you say to other women who are going through something difficult?" Martha looked directly at the camera. "I would tell them not to be afraid to tell the truth, not to be afraid to defend what is right, because silence does not protect us. It only protects lies. And we deserve to live in truth." I turned off the television, and I cried. But this time they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of joy. Because I understood that what I had done had inspired other women, other mothers, other grandmothers, other daughters, to raise their voices, to defend the truth, to live with dignity. And that was a legacy. Today, as I write this, I am 60 years old, but I feel younger than ever, because I finally understand the meaning of my life. I did not come to this world to be rich. I did not come to be famous. I did not come to be perfect. I came to be brave, to tell the truth when everyone was silent, to defend those I loved when no one else would, to teach my family that dignity is worth more than any approval. And I think I succeeded, because when I look at my son, I see an honest man, hard-working, a man of integrity. When I look at my daughter-in-law, I see a strong woman, wise, compassionate. And when I look at my grandson, I see hope, I see future, I see light. That is what I leave behind. Not money, not property, not fame. I leave values, I leave truth, I leave love. And that is more valuable than any fortune. Last week, Michael asked me something. "Grandma, when you're really, really old, are you going to die?" "Yes, my love, someday." "And then I won't see you anymore?" "Not with your eyes, but with your heart." "How?" I knelt in front of him. I looked him in the eyes. "Every time you tell the truth, I will be there." "Really?" "Yes. Every time you defend someone you love, I will be there. Every time you are brave, I will be there." "And how will I know you are there?" "Because you will feel a warmth in your chest, a peace, and you will know that I am with you." Michael smiled. "Then you'll never leave." "Never, my love, never." I hugged him, and I knew it was true, because legacies don't die, they just transform. Tonight, as I look at the stars from my window, I think about everything I have lived, and I wonder, what would I tell the women who read my story? I would tell them this: don't be afraid to be brave. Don't be afraid to tell the truth. Don't be afraid to defend what is right, even if everyone tells you you're crazy. Because the world needs more brave women. Women who stand up when everyone expects silence. Women who say, "Enough," when everyone says, "Endure it." Women who choose dignity over comfort. Because those women change the world. One truth at a time, one family at a time, one generation at a time. And if my story helps a single woman open her eyes, if it helps a single mother defend her son, if it helps a single daughter leave a lie, then everything will have been worth it. Every tear, every fear, every difficult night, everything. Because in the end, what matters is not how long we live, it is how we live. And I chose to live in truth. I chose to live with dignity. I chose to live with love. And that is my story. The story of an ordinary woman who did something extraordinary. Not because she was special, but because she decided not to stay silent. Tomorrow, I'm going to see Andrew and Sophia. We're going to go to the park with Michael. We're going to eat ice cream. We're going to laugh. We're going to live. Because that's what families who truly love each other do. They live, they love, they forgive, they grow. And I will continue to be the grandma who tells stories, the grandma who bakes cookies, the grandma who hugs tight, but also the grandma who teaches that the truth is always better than a lie, that dignity is always better than appearance, that true love is always better than false love. That is my legacy, and I am at peace with it. So if you are reading this, if you are listening to my story, I want you to know something. You too can be brave. You too can tell the truth. You too can defend what is right. No matter your age, no matter your situation, no matter your fear, because bravery is not the absence of fear. It is acting despite the fear. And if a 55-year-old woman could stand up at a wedding and destroy an empire of lies, you too can stand up in your life and say, "Enough. This ends here." Because you deserve to live in truth. You deserve to live in peace. You deserve to live with dignity. We all deserve it. Thank you for listening to me until the end. Thank you for walking with me through this story. Thank you for allowing me into your heart. If this story touched your soul, if it made you think, if it gave you courage, then share it. Share it with your mother, with your daughter, with your sister, with your friend. Because stories have power, the power to transform, the power to heal, the power to inspire. And this story is for all the women who were ever afraid to speak, for all those who stayed silent when they wanted to scream, for all those who endured when they wanted to leave. This story is for you. And I tell you, you are no longer alone, because now you know that there was a woman who was also afraid, but who spoke anyway, and who changed everything. Subscribe and hit the bell to hear more stories of women who transformed their pain into wisdom. Every day, one woman, one life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change an entire day. May God bless you. And until next time, with all my heart, Mary Johnson.